June of this year, KPMG, one of the Big Four, quietly withdrew a published report. A forensic review found that of 45 citations, only 5 pointed to real sources. The month before, Ernst & Young Canada pulled a report of its own. 16 of 27 sources, fabricated, misattributed, or broken. Last year, Deloitte Australia refunded part of a $439,000 government contract. Their report quoted a judge who never said the words, in a case, at paragraphs that do not exist. These are the firms enterprises pay to verify things. And here is what should actually keep you up at night. The report KPMG withdrew was titled, and I am not making this up, Redefining Excellence in the Age of Agentic AI. The machine wrote the hype about itself, and the humans signed it. I'm Asif Waliyuddin, founder of NextGen AI, and this is AI Unveiled, Hypes versus Reality. Today, we are opening a new 6-part series about the broken systems underpinning a trillion-dollar industry. Welcome to The Honor System, Episode 1, Organizational Model Collapse. What happens when your organization starts producing work faster than any human can digest? Segment 1, The Hype. Here is the pitch you have heard all year. Agentic AI changes everything. Swarms of agents writing your code, drafting your specs, filing your tickets, summarizing your meetings, updating your documentation. A week of human output before lunch. Execution is now abundant. Headcount math is dead. More output equals more productivity. And look, the throughput part is real. I am not here to tell you the agents don't work. Adoption in software teams is sitting around 90%. The benchmarks that measured whether AI could fix real code went from single digits in 2023 to roughly 70% by 2025. The generation side of this revolution is genuine. But from our vantage point at NextGen AI, actually running agentic teams, living inside the artifact flood every single day, here is what the keynotes won't tell you. The first real bottleneck in agentic organizations is not generation, it's digestion. Execution became cheap, judgment did not. And every unreviewed artifact your agents produce is not inventory, it is contamination, waiting to be consumed. Segment 2, The Prophecy. To understand what is happening inside enterprises right now, you have to go back to a warning from the lab. 3 years ago, 2023, researchers at Rice University publish a paper with a deliberately unsettling name. Self-consuming generative models, GOMAD, MAD, model autophagy disorder, named by analogy after mad cow disease. Feed a generative model its own outputs generation after generation, and without enough fresh real data, their word, not mine, the model is doomed. Quality decays or diversity collapses, and it happens in just a few generations. July 2024. The warning goes mainstream. Nature, the most prestigious scientific journal on the planet, publishes researchers from Oxford and Cambridge. The title says it all. AI models collapse when trained on recursively generated data. Indiscriminate use of model-generated content causes irreversible defects. The tails of the distribution, the rare, the nuanced, the edge cases, disappear first. The model drifts until it barely resembles reality. But here is the part of the story that got far less coverage, and it turns out to be the most important part. That same year, researchers at Stanford and Harvard asked a simple question. Is collapse actually inevitable? Their answer, no. The doom scenarios all assumed synthetic data replaces real data. If instead you accumulate, keep the verified human signal, add the synthetic alongside it, collapse is mathematically bounded. It does not happen. Read that finding again, because it is the key to this entire series. The enemy was never synthetic data. The enemy is unvalidated synthetic data, replacing verified truth. One more paper from 2024, and then I will bring you back to the present. A study called Monol modeled what happens in the loop between humans and AI. It found synthetic information progressively crowding out human generated information, reducing diversity, trapping the whole system in local optima. The machines were not just degrading themselves, they were beginning to suppress us. So that is the prophecy, dated and on the record. Recursive consumption of unverified synthetic content degrades systems. Unless verified, real signal is preserved and accumulated. The labs heard that warning. Hold that thought, because what they did about it is the punchline of this episode. Segment 3, The Metastasis. Fast forward to now. The collapse the researchers simulated in the lab, it escaped, not into the models, into the organizations. Follow the evidence with me, newest first, because on this show, we date everything. April 2026. Microsoft Research publishes a benchmark called Delegate 52. They took 19 models, including the Frontier, and delegated ordinary document work to them across 52 professional domains. The result? Over 20 rounds of edits, even Frontier models corrupted roughly a quarter of document content. And here's the detail that should stop every just add agents roadmap in its tracks. Giving the models agentic tool use made the corruption worse. 2026 at scale. A large empirical study looked at 300,000 verified AI authored commits across 6,300 repositories. It found nearly 500,000 introduced issues. Every single assistant tested introduced at least one issue in more than 15% of its commits. And about a quarter of those issues? Still alive in the codebase today. That is not a productivity metric. That is a contamination survival rate. The neutral referee agrees. Google's Dora research, 5,000 professionals, the closest thing our industry has to an impartial scorekeeper, found AI raises throughput and consistently raises instability. Their words, AI doesn't fix a team. It amplifies what is already there. Code analysis firms are seeing refactoring collapse toward record lows, while copy paste hits record highs. I will flag this honestly. Those magnitudes come from vendors with a stake in the story, but the direction matches the neutral data everywhere we looked. And then there is open source, the canary in this coal mine, because its review process happens in public. January 31st, 2026. Daniel Stenberg, creator of curl, software running on billions of devices, shuts down his bug bounty after 7 years and $100,000 in payouts. Why? AI generated slop reports. Valid submissions collapsed from 1 in 6 to, in his words, not even 1 in 20. He described death by 1,000 slops and a toll on his team's, quote, will to live. Ghosty went zero tolerance on AI pull requests. The jazz band Python collective simply shut down. TL Draw auto-closed all external contributions. And GitHub's own Octoverse report called the Flood, this is GitHub talking, a denial of service attack on human attention. Which brings us back to those big four reports. Deloitte, KPMG, Ernst & Young. Add the EU's own cybersecurity agency, ENISA, hallucinated footnotes in official threat reports. Add South Africa, the first government in history to withdraw a national policy document, because the bibliography was partly invented by AI. Add over 1,300 court proceedings and nearly 500 sanctioned attorneys for fabricated legal citations. A forensic analyst reviewing the KPMG report coined the perfect phrase for what is happening. Secondhand hallucinations. Synthetic errors laundered through a trusted institution's letterhead, re-entering the world as verified fact. And one more, handled carefully because it is contested. The Financial Times reported that Amazon saw a trend of incidents involving AI assisted changes. Amazon publicly rebutted most of that reporting, and you deserve to know both sides aired here. But Amazon itself confirmed one detail, and it is the one that matters for this episode. An engineer followed advice an AI tool inferred from an outdated internal wiki. Stale organizational memory in. Confident guidance out. Production incident. That is the loop. Synthetic work enters organizational memory. Unverified. Future systems and future humans consume it as ground truth. The hallucination doesn't just happen anymore, it gets institutionalized. Segment 4, Naming the Failure Mode. So let's do what this show exists to do and separate the hype from the reality. The hype says the risk is AI slop, bad content, a quality problem, fixable with better models. The reality is sharper, and as far as we can tell, nobody has named it yet. We went looking through the 2025 and 2026 literature for anyone connecting the model collapse science to what is happening inside enterprises. The nearest neighbors get close. A Malaysian research institute tied AI slop to model collapse at the level of society. A June preprint chained market incentives to model collapse at the level of economics. Nobody that we could find has said the thing that 2+ decades in enterprise transformation and 3 years of personally running agentic teams makes obvious to me. Organizational model collapse. The same autophagy the labs proved in models. Running one level up through your backlog, your knowledge base, your RAG corpus, your agent memory, your decision logs. Collapse does not require retraining anything. It only requires one condition: that synthetic artifacts become your organization's trusted memory, without evidence. Drawing from our first-hand experience building agentic systems at NextGen AI, human teams fail from slowness, politics, misalignment. Agentic teams fail differently from volume, recursion, shallow validation, and synthetic confidence. You cannot see this failure mode in an analyst report. You feel it the first morning your agents have produced a week of plausible work, and you realize plausible is doing all the work in that sentence. The security world is already circling the same mechanism from the adversarial side. The 2026 OWASP Agentic Top 10 lists memory poisoning, where one agent's degraded output enters another agent's context as ground truth. They frame it as an attack. Here's my uncomfortable question. What do you call it when your organization does it to itself, at scale, voluntarily, and books it as productivity? Segment 5, The Asymmetry. Now, the punchline I asked you to hold from the prophecy segment. Remember the accumulate, don't replace finding? Here's what the Frontier Labs did with it. They listened. By 2025 and 2026, every serious training pipeline runs on evidence discipline, verified human data, preserved and accumulated. Synthetic data allowed in, but gated by verifiers, checked against unit tests and proof checkers, deduplicated, filtered. And the wide open web that was supposed to drown in synthetic content by 2026? The best measurement we have says AI. Written articles hit parity with human ones in late 2024 and plateaued. That 90% synthetic stat still doing the rounds. It is a 2022 Europol projection, usually misattributed. Never a measurement. On this show, we retire it. So model level collapse is largely contained, not because the danger was fake, but because the labs took it seriously and built verification into the pipeline. And that is the asymmetry that defines this series. The labs solved this problem with evidence discipline. Enterprises are recreating it with none. Your AI lab won't let unverified synthetic data touch a training run. Your enterprise lets unverified synthetic documents into the knowledge base every single day and calls it velocity. Segment 6: The Antidote. So, what is the fix? It is not slow down the AI. It is not hire more reviewers. You cannot hire your way past machine speed generation. The antidote is the same one the labs used, translated up a level. Evidence governance. 5 principles. Write these down. 1. Every artifact gets a life cycle: draft, reviewed, validated, deprecated, enforced by the system, not by good intentions. 2. Every artifact gets provenance. Who made this? A human, or which agent? From what inputs? When? If your knowledge base cannot answer that, you don't have a knowledge base. You have a rumor mill with a search bar. 3. Evidence binding. Load-bearing claims linked to verifiable sources. Unsourced synthetic assertions get flagged, visibly, as unverified. 4. Validation gates. Nothing, absolutely nothing, enters shared memory, the RAG corpus, or agent context as ground truth without passing a gate, proportional to how much autonomy you have granted. Gartner is now telling enterprises the same thing. Tier your governance by autonomy level, or fail. 5. Accumulate, never replace. Verified human knowledge is never silently overwritten by synthetic output. That is the Stanford and Harvard result, operationalized. And the regulators have noticed the same gap. In under 4 weeks, August 2nd, the EU AI Act's Article 50 transparency obligations take effect. Machine-readable marking of synthetic content, with fines up to 15 million euros, or 3% of global turnover. Provenance is about to stop being a best practice and start being law. Full disclosure before we close. Because this episode does not get to critique. Honor system vendors, and then become one. Internally, at NextGen AI, we run every agent artifact through a platform we call DX3, typed records with audited lifecycle states, queryable provenance on every artifact, validated knowledge versioned, never silently overwritten. And honestly, parts of that are enforced by the system. Parts are still enforced by discipline. And that review debt metric I just told you to build, we don't have it yet either. Just recently, one of our own agents built a review sheet that silently showed less than a tenth of each document it was supposed to be grading. No metric caught it. I caught it by reading. That is the honest state of the art, ours included. Our working notes, as we close that gap, live at NXTG.ai/insights. In closing, let me leave you with the operating principle this entire series will keep coming back to. One sentence. Never let synthetic work become organizational memory without evidence. The old bottleneck was execution. That era is over. The machines won it. The new bottleneck is judgment. And the organizations that thrive in the next 5 years won't be the ones that generate the most. They will be the ones that digest the best. Because they built the evidence discipline the labs already proved works. More output without validation is not productivity. It is entropy with a dashboard. Next episode in this series, we go inside Review Debt, how to measure the digestion bottleneck your dashboards are hiding, and why your fastest team might be your most contaminated. Until then, stay informed, stay skeptical, and make them show you the evidence. I am Asif Waliuddin. This has been AI Unveiled, Hype versus Reality.